one story of what happened in China. And what was fascinating for me is to start to dig into the literature about an alternate story of what happened in China. And one of the most interesting and compelling scholars that I've interacted with and read his material is Joshua Muldavin, who's a geographer at Sarah Lawrence. He's a student of Michael Watts, if some of you know his work. But he has a very interesting background because his parents were Russian Bolsheviks who immigrated to China and were spent a good part of their lives on communes in China. And Joshua, because of this family connection, has also spent a lot of time on communes. So he has this kind of deep kind of family connection to China, and I think he's one of the foremost scholars on kind of agrarian change in the Chinese context. So he has a different story of what happened, okay? And he argues that this surge in production that we saw in China from the late 1970s and in the 80s was not necessarily related to these sets of reforms, okay? He argues that there were a set of assets that were built up during the collectivization period, okay? Investments in the land, as well as the construction of fertilizer plants, okay? And that at the moment of these reforms, not only did those fertilizer plants come on stream, in addition to this imported American technology, but also these collective assets, in a sense, are pillaged during the free market period. And that, for him, is what leads to this surge in production. Okay? And then if you look more recently at the production data, okay, so production is increasing until the 90s, but from the late 90s moving forward, it has more or less plateaued. Okay, there is some fluctuation, but it has more or less plateaued. So Muldavin argues, and this is backed up by field work and soil analysis, he argues that this plateauing is related to declining yields, which are related to many years of overuse of chemical fertilizers. And some of you may be soil scientists, but if you heavily use chemical fertilizers without organic inputs, it leads to a problem known as soil acidification, which depresses your yields. Okay? So he's arguing that it's these declines which are leading to the plateauing of agricultural production in China, as well as it's related to the loss of land due to urbanization. So you are taking some very productive land out of production as well. So this is a problem for China. Okay, its production has plateaued, yet consumption continues to increase. And the increases in consumption are not so much related to population growth, but to urbanization. So as China is urbanizing, diets are changing, and that's putting more pressure on the agricultural sector.